My biggest fear is that he's not going to be able to overcome these social inadequacies, and they're going to stay with him his entire life, and they're going to ultimately impair him.
There are a lot of people in this area that suffer from depression, and nobody talks about it. Like I would mention, I work with the people, and I'm a hairdresser, and I see people all the time, and I would talk to people about how our son is depressed and then they open up too, and I didn't realise how many people around here, even in the hospital, it would be full, wouldn't it? Full of people suffering from depression and suffering from, you know, suicidal thoughts.
A lot of young people as well.
And young like Aaron.
I think there's such a stigma still that people are so afraid to say, I've taken my child to a child psychiatrist, I've taken them to a psychologist, or that they would even venture into that facet of health and well-being.
And if they did, they wouldn't tell you.
Yeah. With Taylor being our first, I didn't really know what to expect. But as time went on and he got older, I just pretty much kept things in mind that I had seen from him. And I do a lot of reading and a lot of research, and I was very interested to make sure that I was being a proper mother, I was doing things properly, I was meeting his needs accordingly. So I did a lot of reading. And I just started noticing things like, when we got to terrible twos, I called them terrific twos. The child still to this day has never had a temper tantrum. And I find that really unusual.
So what made you think that there was a problem?
Well, he was busy. He was very busy. He wouldn't really play with his toys. If you sat with him and tried to engage him, he would be more interested in just playing with you rather than the toys. So he really didn't manipulate. But as he got a little older and we were thinking of putting him in school, I said, you know, I'm sure the first day of school I'll get a phone call. Hello, Mrs. Raymond. And I did. I did. The teacher was very concerned at what she saw, how busy he was, his lack of focus, and she realized right off the bat that although he was a good child and a happy, pleasant, friendly child, the focusing ability wasn't there, and he was busy. He was just really, really busy.
3,
One, yeah.
2, 1,
One.
go! Ready for this! Woo! I went in the bowling alley. Oh yeah! I won! Yes! I blew your blade!
Woo! I still remember his first day in kindergarten. He went up to someone and said, "Hi, my name's Taylor. I live at 20 Cabot Place, and would you like to come and play with me and be my friend?" And the little girl just backed off and put her head down like this. So he went upside down. He said, "Hi, my name's Taylor." And the whole spiel started all over again. Like, he thought that she didn't hear him. He had to get closer.
So he wasn't reading the
He
signals.
did not ever interpret body language
Or personal space.
or personal space from
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And to this day he still can't.
Dad, can we use the metal one?
No.
Dad, we want to use it. That
Oh,
way.
all right.
That way we can't lose as easily. That makes sense, Dad.
Does it make sense, Stuart?
That does.
Taylor, what are you looking for?
Oh, we're looking for a metal base stadium.
The walk.
I can't even find it.
The cookie walk?
Yeah.
This is the closest I can find. Oh, ow.
Two of his very best friends were killed in a car accident, and that's when the depression started. He didn't deal with it at the time. Went to both their funerals and spent a lot of time with those two families. It was like 2 weeks of nothing but death and funeral homes for him. Was very close to the one friend, Jeff. He did spend a lot of time, didn't he, that week? He just lived at the funeral homes. And
his biggest problem, I think, came from that, because when they were killed, that same afternoon they were round here. They came round here to call on him, and he wasn't home, and he blames himself for not being home, because he thinks if he was home then it would have taken him 10 or 15 minutes to get changed or showered and get his stuff together, and then by that time the truck that hit these 3 boys would have bypassed.
Wow.
yeah. Like Mike said, he blamed himself a lot for his friends dying. Because like he said, if he thought if he'd have been home that day, he could have prevented that. So he lived with that you know, it was his fault. He thought that it was his fault. And he didn't talk about it at all at first. And we did say to him, didn't we, that, you know, they set up counselling at the school for all these kids. Because it happened the day after the school got out for summer. And the school did set up counsellors and said if anybody needs to go and talk about this. But he said, no, I'm fine, I'm okay. And, you know, I kept asking him, no, I'm okay, I'm dealing with it. But I guess he wasn't really dealing with it. It just built up inside. And then he just started going downhill and doing different things, just not really being interested in anything, was he?
No.
You know, he just lost interest in everything, didn't really care about school, anything, you know, and just went downhill. And then the first, I don't really remember the very first time he was in the hospital, do you? What happened? He started getting in trouble. He started doing things, stupid things, and getting into trouble with the police. And apparently this is part of the depression. At the first, you know, we didn't realise that what it was, but he got in trouble with the police, didn't he? He was in the back of the police car and they were taking him into custody. And he took his belt off his jeans, didn't he? And he tried to strangle himself with that. So that was the very first sign that there was some problems. And then when they kept him in the police station that night until we got there. And then another thing he tried to do was he took the cord out of the hood of his sweatshirt and tried to strangle himself with that. Then he took a shoelace. So he was trying like 3 attempts that one night. So that was the first thing. So then they end up taking him up to the hospital. You know,
We took him the first time, I think, didn't we?
I can't remember if we took him
think so.
in or...
Because he was so depressed and everything.
He was. We ended up, going to the hospital with him, and of course they put him on medication, and they kept him there for
3 days.
3 days, and said, "Oh, he's fine. Let him go home." And then it continued on from there, and it went on for months, didn't it? It was the same.
Did he see anyone when you took him in that first
Yeah,
time?
you saw
yeah.
you saw the psychiatrist up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which didn't, seeing the psychiatrist up there was just for like 2 minutes in a day, wasn't it?
But
And they wouldn't spend any time with him up there though. I don't know, maybe if they're overcrowded or too busy or whatever, but he would see this guy for a couple of minutes a day, and that would be the end of it, and then he'd see him the next day, and the third day coming along and he'd say he's fine, so he'd send him home again. But he was, the first time remember the first time? They wanted to strap him on that bed, remember?
yes, yeah.
That was the first time, wasn't
Yeah.
it? They wanted to put him in a padded cell or something, and had his bed
In the hospital.
in the hospital psychiatric ward there, and they had all these straps on the bed. They wanted to strap him down because he had suicidal feelings at that time.
This room they had him into, it was just grey walls and then like a cementy floor. It wasn't even a nice room at all. And then this bed with all these big leather straps on it, and he sat in the corner, didn't he? They took all his clothes. He had nothing, just a hospital gown on. And he was sitting on the floor in the corner, and he was just rocking backwards and forwards, wasn't he? And he said, "I'm not getting in the bed, I'm not getting in the bed." And it was later. I mean, all these things happen at night too. Apparently for depressed people, nighttime is the worst, because I think that's your quietest time. Everybody's gone to bed, and that's when you're pretty much on your own, and your mind starts to go, and you think. So a lot of this that we went through with him was through the night. It was always late at night, when it was always nighttime stuff.
Oh, this is it. See? Right here. Oh, cool. There's even a footprint. Right here.
Yeah, here.
See?
Let me get it if I can get rid of the sun.
Here's the shell. There's our footprint. And here's another part of a shell. Right up there. Pretty neat, huh?
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I live in a town called Sudbury, which is an old mining town. And there's all kinds of really, really old rock. And lots of cool stuff like that.
There, garden too?
Sure, yeah. This is nice. I like this little statue.
Yeah. Our friends that live here, they call it Bug World.
Bug World?
Yeah, when you see the bugs. Look at all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Are red dragons poisonous?
I'm not sure.
I don't think they are. Holly, look at that one thing.
This one?
Yeah.
Wow, it's pretty big.
Oh, look at that one right over here. Rolling in there. See?
Yeah?
That was so cool. I never noticed that. This tire has broken twice.
Have you ever been on it when it broke?
No. I need to take you down to my favorite picnic spot.
Yeah? Sure.
It's across that road over there. It's really nice.
Okay.
It has a willow tree you can climb.
Really? Oh, I love willow trees.
Ooh, we should go there.
I've found that my role in life as a mother has turned into role as an advocate for my child, and that has become a full-time job for me. I was not only trying to help my child, but I was trying to stave off any further detrimental situations from that public school, because this behavior room, which was basically secured isolation, you're sitting in a desk and they've got baffles all around you, so you can't see anybody else, and you're given absolutely nothing to do, which is not a good thing for these children, because it exacerbates their condition and it causes more anxiety. He almost had a mental breakdown. The psychology department at the University of Guelph had to phone and one of there were two psychologists we dealt with, and one talked with the principal and the other talked with his classroom teacher and said, he's in acute distress with an anxiety disorder. Under no circumstances are you to put him back in the behavior room for, I mean, they would put him in for things like, well, he didn't focus. I told him 3 times to focus. And I'm thinking, oh my God, do you have any idea what you're doing to this child?
That's really fun. Yeah, that's really nice. Guitar's a cool
road
instrument.
up there. The first road on that side. Is that that looks like more like an elephant's footprint.
I'm allergic to fish though.
Watch out for that ant. That's huge. Look at that island.
Well, the school didn't want to listen to the university. They thought they knew best, and I kept being told, we see perfectly normal little boy behavior here, you just don't understand children. And I would be shushed on home. On you go, on you go. And they were so resistant. So what ended up happening, I think Taylor rocked back on his chair on 2 legs, which is something very common. Actually, it showed up in a book on nonverbal learning disability kids. I had no idea it was that common, but so he was sent to the behavior room again. I mean, here's this kid trying to deal with learning disabilities. He's got nonverbal learning disability, which is like a form of autism, very similar to Asperger's. He's got an anxiety disorder, and he's got attention deficit disorder. And you know, here he's got all these learning disabilities and things, and he's trying to cope in school, and he keeps being punished for things that he couldn't possibly ever help. And so the university actually had to come up, and we had to have a big meeting. And you know, they said that they were just the most defensive, resistant people they had ever encountered in their careers. It was just terrible, because you felt like you were banging your head against a wall. You were trying to educate the educators by supplying them with documentation and people who are highly educated in this field and who understand this sort of thing and his behavior and what is causing the anxiety to increase. And the principal tells us, I don't see any evidence of it, so we're just going to continue on, and this is just the way it is. This is the way it's going to be. This is my school.
What's that?
Let's go. Want to go to my favorite picnic spot now?
Sure.
It's not that far. Want to make the tiny bed of mine?
Yeah, okay.
Too bad it's not with the pinball stick. You'd have to crawl to get under it. Want to know what that would be?
What?
Baby.
Yeah.
Not in front of it.
Sure. I'm pretty out of breath.
Give me a tummy. I'll get sore.
I knew that they really didn't know Taylor the way we knew him. And I thought, okay, well, if you're not going to listen, then I can't give you the full picture. And if you don't want to understand, I can't make you understand. But I don't have to leave him here either. My job was to get help for my son. My job as a parent is to make sure that my child gets everything he needs to be a happy, successful person in life. I want to see my child succeed. And I thought, if I listen to these people, if I just sit back and swallow what they shove down my throat, this isn't going to happen. He needed what we came from in Deep River, where he started school. He had a wonderful, nurturing, supportive environment. There was never one day of trouble. Never, ever once. His teachers loved him. Taylor's a joyful person. He can be frustrating to be around. He can be exasperating at times, but geez, all kids can. And he's got a lot of challenges, and I think, you know, if that were me having to deal with what he had to deal with, how would I feel? How would I feel? And, you know, the thing with these kids too, the more I learned, the more I read, the more I researched, the more I understood how imperative it was that we get him help, because I don't want my kid to be another suicide statistic. And that's what we were heading for. I mean, it starts out with the depression, and he did suffer quite a bit of depression. And I couldn't see leaving him in a situation like that. I thought, this is my charge. I'm the one who can make the change. I have to be the advocate for this child. I have to be the means of change for him. I can't let everybody else try to tell me what's best for my child. I knew when he was born, I knew when he was a baby what was best for my child, and how to properly care for him and give him the attention he needs. And thank God I did it the way I did.
Let's go back here a bit. I think that's been done. I've never seen that before.
Do you ever think about doing photography, Taylor?
Yeah, I've done it once.
You have a good eye.
Yeah, if I had my yellow camera, I would have taken a picture of that. But when we moved, moved about 3 years ago, we can't find it yet.
Oh, no.
I would talk to a psychiatrist and said, is this going to happen again? Well, it shouldn't do, no, as long as he takes his medication. So then they put him on an antidepressant, and he was also on Ativan, which was an anti-anxiety. At this time, they just said to him, well, you know, take your antidepressants every day, and if you feel a bit anxious, take one of these Ativans. So the one night here, and to make it worse, at the time my husband was a long-haul trucker, so a lot of the time he wasn't home through the week. He'd just be home on the weekends. So I had to deal with a lot of stuff on my own too, and I think that was also part of Aaron's problem, was not having his dad here all the time, so that bothered him. He never did say that, but I think deep down, because his dad wasn't here to talk to sometimes, and he just felt that he was putting everything on me, and he tried not to say too much to me because he didn't want to hurt me or upset me or anything. But one night he was feeling anxious, and they said, well, take an Ativan. Well, he took one, and I guess it didn't work quick enough for him, and he was still feeling anxious. So he took another one, and anyway, we'd gone to bed, and I'd gone up to bed, and then I heard him. You could always tell, like he wouldn't sit down when you could tell when something was bothering him, because he just couldn't sit. He was on the move all the time. And he had gone to bed, and I had gone to bed, and you lay there awake. You just always listening, because you wonder, what's he doing? Where is he? So I was laying there, and he came back downstairs again, and I could hear him walking around down here and opening and closing the fridge door and the cupboard doors. And finally I came downstairs and I said, Aaron, what's wrong? And by this time he was all dressed again, and he was acting really, really strange. And he had a big sweatshirt on, but I noticed his arms seemed really puffy, fat. And I pulled up his sleeve, and here he'd taken
an X-Acto blade.
X-Acto blade, yeah, and sliced all his arm. Well, then he wrapped a towel around it and taped it up with duct tape. And I says, what did you do to your arm? And he said, oh, it's okay. And I said, well, let me look at that. And I had to cut it off because he had so much stuff wrapped around it, and he had all these slices on his arm. And, I said to him, Aaron, why did you do that? And he said, I just wanted to go away. And he said, I thought if my arm hurt, then it would take away the other hurt, And I said, well, what hurt? And he says, well, he said, and he was just pacing, he wouldn't settle down. And he said, Mum, let's go for a drive. And he wanted a drive. And I said, well, this was probably 1 o'clock in the morning now. And I said to him, I knew he'd taken something because of the way he was acting. And I said, Aaron, what did you take? And did you take one of your pills? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, which one? And he said, the Ativan. How many did you take? And he said, maybe 2. And I said, just 2, Aaron? Like this, because I knew he could tell he'd done. No, he said, I think I may have had 3 or 4 because they weren't working. They're not working. And I said to him, well, let me go see. Well, the pot was just sitting right here, and there was only 1 left, and there'd been about at least 15 in there. So he'd taken about 14 of them. So then I said to him, well, I had to take my car keys because he didn't think, and he just wanted to go for a drive. He wanted to get out of the house. He didn't like to be confined. He just had to be out when he was feeling in one of these moods. So I said, let me just go get dressed. And I said, we'll go out. And I said, how about we go for coffee? Because I knew I had to take him to the hospital. But if I said to him, Aaron, you got to go to the hospital, he wouldn't go with me because he'd been so many times and been through so much there, and he felt they never helped him there, and he just didn't want to go back. He just did not want to go back there. And you can't really blame him, you know. So I said, well, we'll go and get a coffee. You know, I said, we'll go to Tim Hortons. It's open 24 hours. So I ran quickly, got dressed, came down, we got him in the car, and I opened the back door for him to go out, and he just ran. Like, he was just so much energy built up inside of him, you know. He just ran down to the driveway, and he's running, he's bouncing around, and I'll drive. And I said, no, I'll drive there, but you can drive back, you know. And okay, because anyway, I got him in the car, and before, we were just outside of town, and he just passed out on me in the car because of the medication.
No, we have to come through these trees. Oh, just right there. I don't think I remember it. Oh, let me try. Come on.
Yeah.
I want to hold this hand.
Yeah, thanks.
Here. Go.
You can take some shots if you want.
I guess.
Would the psychiatrist not say, okay, there's obviously a problem, this boy keeps coming back, let's get to the bottom of it? Oh no, give him another pill, send him home, he'll be fine. And that's what we had done for over a year. I was visiting Aaron the one day when the psychiatrist came in, and I was sitting there, and he came, oh, hello, oh, hi, you know, how are you? Oh, I'm good. Oh, hi, Aaron, how are you? Oh, I'm good. Is this your mom? Yeah. You know, and, oh, you had a nice visit? Yeah. Well, how are you feeling today? He says, I'm good. Oh, okay then. All right, well, we'll see you tomorrow. So I said to him, excuse me, and I said, Aaron, you want to go get a drink or something a minute so I can have a little chat here? So Aaron leaves the room, and I said, well, what's going on with Aaron? Oh, nothing. Well, why is he here then? Like, if there's nothing going on with him, why are you giving him pills, and why is he in a mental hospital? Like, what is wrong with Aaron? What does he have? Like, tell me, what's his diagnosis? Oh, he'll get over it. You know, well, how long is he going to be on pills for? Oh, well, we'll keep him on pills for the summer.
It's the easiest, it's their easiest out, is to give people medication and hope for the best, I guess, more than anything else. And like we were saying earlier, if our son or anybody else's son goes there and he goes and sees him for 2 minutes every day, and at the end of the third day, if he says, how are you? He says, I'm fine. He says, well, okay, you can go home. And that's
They
it,
asked Aaron,
right?
are you feeling suicidal today, Aaron? No. They did, honestly. I know. Are you feeling suicidal today, Aaron? No.
So they give him all his clothes back. Like, otherwise, you'd just be running around with a gown on.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he said, no, I'm not feeling suicidal or not feeling deep, they give him all his clothes back, right? And even if he was feeling suicidal, he didn't tell him, he's got all his clothes on, he could still go and cause himself injury.
Well, there was a night, remember, I don't know if you were here that night, there was a night that he was in his room, in the psychiatric ward, in the hospital, and he had taken his shoelace and had it round his neck. And I had to phone front desk and tell them to go in to Aaron's room because he had, and how that came about, he was talking to I had talked to him, and he had talked to his sister.
That's a phone call I was thinking about.
Yes, that was what it was. And he had told his sister, he had said goodbye to his sister because he couldn't do this anymore and he couldn't deal with it anymore and nobody was helping him. And he was having a really bad time. And I had just talked to him on the phone and he was crying and he said, bye, Mum. And I said, don't go yet, I want to talk to you. He said, I just want to say goodbye to you, I have to go. And he had told us, because that's why I had called him to see how he was. And I had to phone front desk and say, get in my son's room right now and get his clothes away from him because he has the shoelace from his shoe around his neck. And she says, we're aware of what they're doing all the time. And I said, well, obviously not if I'm making this call. I said, get somebody in his room right now. And I said, I want you to phone me straight back and let me know what's going on. And I waited probably an hour, and I never got a call, and I phoned there again, and I said, what the hell is going on? He's fine. Why didn't you phone me back? Well, he's not our only patient, we're busy, you know. And I said, you know what though, he's the only patient that I care about right now. And I said, I don't even know if I can trust you people to look after him. You know, I said, I don't sleep at night when he's at home. When he's in the hospital, at least I could sleep. But now I said, I can't even do that now, can I? I said, because I don't know if I come and see him tomorrow, if he's going to be there or not.
Let's go this way. Do you know what poison ivy looks like?
Kind of. I don't really remember too much.
You better. 'Cause if I get anywhere near a point... We have to go back, I think. Yeah, I don't know. We could just go along the shore. Oh, God. Holy moly, we're not even close. We're almost there. We better go back up here. We need to get to the path so we don't get lost. I think this used to be a river. Oh, I think... Okay, can you hold this for a second?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Actually, I'll just go to the side.
Yeah. What are you doing?
What?
Oh, God. Why didn't you tell me that before? I don't even think... I don't know where we are. Oh, well.
Here he was again. He was anxious. He was walking, wouldn't settle down, and up and down and up and down, and went to his room, didn't he? And then we heard a bang, and we were sitting in the living room, and I said, what is that? And I went upstairs, and I couldn't find him anywhere, and I went back into his room again, and I noticed his window was open, and this was maybe October time or November, wasn't it? It was cooler anyway. It was getting, yeah. And then I noticed the screen was out. He cut the screen out of the window and jumped out of his bedroom window upstairs, like a two-story. And that's the bang we heard was him landing outside. Then you hopped in the car, didn't you? Went looking for him. We couldn't find him anywhere. Then one of his friends phoned here and said they'd seen him, and they were really worried about him because he was very depressed and wouldn't have anything to do with a friend. The friend tried to talk to him, and he said, no. He said, just leave me, I'm going. He said, just leave me. And he said, just leave me alone. And they followed him, and they found him up on top of the bridge. There's a bridge an old railway bridge above a road just outside of town, and they found him up on there, and they managed to get him down off of there. And they called us and told us. Well, then I phoned the police and said what was going on, and I said, he's out there somewhere, he's already been on the bridge. Luckily, the police officer just happened to be the next street over when they got the call that somebody had phoned and reported somebody climbing up the water tower, and it was Aaron. So they called us and said, can you get to the water tower straight away? So we did, and sure enough, he was hanging off the top of the water tower.
Looking and watching and wondering.
Yeah.
All trying to help, I guess. But.
Well, all his friends came, didn't they? And they were all talking to him as well. And,
Yeah.
and then they had a negotiator come, and of course the ambulance comes, and he went up there at 11 o'clock, and he was up there till 3 in the morning.
His grade 4 teacher was wonderful. She was very open-minded and was willing to do everything she could to help, but it was unfortunately the principal who stood in the way. And it was the principal why she was the reason I took him out of that school. And the bullying, which was never addressed. So, and these kids are a beacon for bullies. They're an absolute beacon. They're so different, and their social skills are so different. And we find with Taylor, he plays a lot with younger kids. He'll play with the kindergarten kids at his school at Edge Hill, and the families are fine with that. Everybody's fine with that. Here, they segregate them, which I understand, but he's not allowed to play with younger kids, and that was really hard for Taylor because he really didn't identify with his peers. So I tried to institute something like we had at Deep River, where there were the older grades would be what they called kinder helpers. and they would help supervise the kindergarten kids and play with them and just be an extra set of eyes for the teacher. And Taylor was always wanting to be helpful in that way, so we thought this would be perfect for him. But of course everything I suggested was, we don't do things like that here. It got to the point that it was a power struggle. It was, I can understand, I can see that it doesn't matter what I bring you, you're going to resist.
When it gets to that point, when it is a power struggle, it's not about the child anymore.
No.
Exactly.
It's about the ego, and that's not
And
good
so
for
that's
anybody.
when you made the decision to pull your child.
Yeah, it took a little longer. We kept being told, oh, well, they can't possibly continue to put him in the behavior room now with this information. Okay, oh yeah, oh, well, we've got this diagnosis now, so they won't do that. They would be foolish to do that. And I was told that one member of the school board went in and said, you do this and there will be a lawsuit, and she continued to do it. And I just thought, well, this is absurd. This is not about my child. This is not in the best interest of my child. This is not for my child. This is for her. This is for her ego, for her job, for her retirement, and it's all about her, not about my child. So, as the psychologist said at the university, we basically have 4 years to get him prepared for university, or for high school rather. Yeah, and then hopefully on to university or college, whatever he wants to do. But we've got 4 years to get him trained. And with speaking to that local family, she said her son has NLD. She said the schools are really starting to change, the high school anyhow. They're much more receptive and open to NLD. They're taking courses on it. They're seeing videos on it. So she said hopefully by the time Taylor has to go to high school, this will all be in place for you. But her story echoes mine, and the same attitudes and the same obstacles and roadblocks and misconceptions that the parents don't really understand, and they're mollycoddling their kids and micromanaging, and it's a pervasive attitude that has to change. It has to change.
This is slippery. I should have stayed with the trail. What am I doing? What am I doing? Hey, look at us. Just say we were on a walk and it was really muddy.
No problem. It is the truth.
You just hate it in court. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? That is so stupid.
Why do you think that's stupid?
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? If you say yes, you have to put your hand down on this stinking book. Don't you think that's dumb?
Well, I think it's fairly easy for people to lie anyway. I think if someone's dishonest, they'd probably have no problem with saying, yeah, sure, I'll tell the truth, and not actually do it. I think it's kind of silly that way.
I phoned London and I talked to the psychiatrist there and explained the situation, and she said to me, yes, that Aaron definitely needs to be there from what I had told her, and as soon as possible. And it was her that told me that I said this was the day after that Aaron was at the water tower, and I called and she said leave him at the hospital. She said you have to get him transferred from there to here, you can't bring him on your own. Because I had said that, I said I will go right now and get that child from the hospital and drive him there myself. And she said, no, he has to be transferred. You have to get the transfer. But you have to get the doctor to transfer, and the psychiatrist that was there had to sign those transfer papers. And he didn't do that either. He wouldn't do that. That was something else that I had to fight with. That took time too. And I asked him if he would sign them, and oh, no, he didn't think that Aaron needed to go there. And I says, well, he does, and he's going, and you know, and he says, oh, no. He says, we'll just increase his medication and we'll send him home, he will be fine. And I says, no, you have to sign the papers for me, you have to sign the transfer. He needs to go. And he wouldn't, he put it off, and he said, well, I'll get one of the nurses to do it. And the nurses says, they can't do it, it has to be the doctor. And then they tried to push it off onto the counsellor, and I went to the counsellor and that was counselling Aaron. She said, no, I can't do it, it has to be the doctor. And eventually I went to my family doctor, and I didn't realise, I thought it had to be, I was led to believe it had to be the psychiatrist. And then I was at the family doctor seeing him about some medication for Aaron, and I was telling him all this, and within an hour he was on the phone and had the transfer done, and Aaron had a bed in London. Then it was still another week and a half because they had to take him by ambulance, and they kept saying to me the whole time, we don't have an ambulance to take him, so you may as well take him home until there's one available. So they were trying to trick me into getting Aaron home again, and then he'd just be put on a waiting list. And that's when I had to say no. No, I said, it doesn't matter. And I says, if it takes a month to find an ambulance to take my son there, then you care for him for that month, because he's not coming home. I said, he's your responsibility now, not mine. Aaron was sitting there, and the doctor said he can be discharged. And I said, no, I wasn't going to take him home. I was able to do that because he was under 19 at the time, so I was still responsible for him. But he's sitting there pleading with me, would you please sign the papers so I can come home? I don't want to be here anymore. And I had to sit there and say, no, Aaron, I can't. You have to stay here. Because if I sign the papers and you come home, you're not going to get the help that you need. So we had to leave him there and to get him transferred up to London Hospital to get help that he needed.
How long did you have to do this? How long was he there?
About a week and a half.
And did you hear from him at all?
Oh, every day. Every day I would go and visit with him, and every day he would ask me, can I come home with you today? And every day I had to say no. And every day the doctors pushed and pushed for me to sign those papers to take him home. And every day I had to say no, and I just had to get in the car and leave him there. Leave without him.
It must have been very painful.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was at the time, but it worked because then he did go to London and he did get help, so. But it's hard to have to do that to a child when he's crying to come home. And that was the only way we could get the help for him, was to say, no, you have to stay here.
And
It's okay.
okay. Take your time.
Have you seen most of Mr. Bean's movies?
Well, yeah, it's
Like
most of the episodes.
Johnny English?
No, actually, I didn't see that one.
No, that's where Mr. Bean is. How about Mr. Bean? How about the best bits of Mr. Bean? Oh, there it is, up there. I know that place anymore because I picked. No, look, see the sand pile? That means we're really close because I remember. Oh, okay, I think we're heading on to the right path now.
It's been a fight. It's been a huge struggle, and I thought I would be able to find help out there, but I've learned that the only way I'm going to get help is if I drum it up myself, or I am the source of help.
Mm-hmm.
And in initiating this support group, which we're trying to start up, that's what we're going to be. Other families can't go through this. There's nothing out here for us. We are a resource-starved area. I can't believe there's nothing here for us. That these kids who have the potential to be so isolated with these conditions, the depression, the suicide rates, these kids need so much, and they have the potential to be so much. Here he is reading at a grade 9 level.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
It's there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always been told he's very intelligent, but to not be able to get that information out has got to be so frustrating for them. And if we're not willing to listen and learn from the parents and the doctors of these children, then how can we possibly educate and advance these kids?
Mm-hmm. Erin, thanks for doing this for us. I'm wondering if you want to tell me when things started getting upset in your life and really bothering you.
It's probably after my 2 friends passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Got in a car accident, and then just ever since then I just didn't care about anything.
And what were you doing then? What happened?
I just didn't go to school. I started smoking weed, and it just led to worse things. And then I don't know, everything just started feeling like it was falling apart, and I just could care less about everything. Nothing meant anything to me. Didn't really talk to anybody. I just kept everything inside, and I don't know, didn't want to be around anymore.
You had an episode with the water tower?
Mm-hmm. It was after I stole a truck.
Stole the truck?
Yeah.
What prompted you to go over to that waterfall? You just or the water tower, you wanted to end everything? Or what
Yeah,
was that?
pretty much. I just didn't want to deal with going to juvie and just, I don't know, deal with everybody talking shit about me. And
I heard that you were in and out of hospital for a while. Didn't get much help there.
No, they stick you in a room with like absolutely nobody to talk to. The doctor came in and talked to me for like 5 minutes, asked how I was, and I'd tell him I was fine, and then he'd send me out to like a different ward, and then just he didn't help you at all really. He just asked you how you were, and you could lie to them and tell them that you were fine, but really you weren't, just to get out of like the hospital and shit, because they just lock you in a room pretty much, and you wouldn't be able to do anything. So I just told them that I was fine, so that I could go out and like go to the store and stuff like that, and come back, and then finally they let me come home, and just every time I got home I was fine for like a week, and then it just got, I don't know, out of hand again.
So in your mind it was getting to London that helped you, right?
Oh yeah, definitely, and seeing how other because like they actually sat you down and they talked within like groups of people, and like you talk about what your problems were and stuff like that, and after you hear other people's problems, it's just like you look at yourself, and it's just like, I'm not like these kids. They have way worse problems than I do. I'm going through like nothing compared to them.
How are you doing now?
I'm doing a lot better now.
Yeah, I could tell.
Things have changed so much in the last year. Like it's crazy. It's just so much better. Like I actually care for myself, and just I don't know. I can just see how much everything means to me now.
Your mom and dad tell me that you're interested in working with young people.
Yeah, kids that like me, little bastards.
Yeah, but at least you'll understand, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I want to help them out. I don't want them to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
Just look a lot like.
I think that was, I'm not sure. Fine.
You're trying some new therapy?
Yes. Recently we've started taking Taylor to, he's a registered massage therapist, but he also does IMT, which is integrated manual therapy. And I believe it's based on traditional Chinese medicine. And what they try to do is get all of the energies flowing through you. So you don't have any blockages, you have less disease. And he found with Taylor that he had actually had a high fever when he was quite young. Now this guy had no background on us at all, and he was reading from his symptoms, either meningitis or encephalitis. And when Taylor was 15 months old, he had a 105, 106 fever, and went into seizures, which would cause encephalitis. So, and I've felt from the beginning that was the root of the problem, and he started to change after that. So this doctor has been fantastic with helping Taylor. He's much calmer. We've been able to reduce his medication already after only 2 visits. He's able to focus much better. He doesn't get the headaches as much. He's sleeping and he's eating, which is
the combination of this
wonderful.
new therapy and the homeschooling
Yes.
is making you feel that things are really
Yeah,
starting
it's come together.
new pathway.
Yeah.
Are you very hopeful for the future now?
For Aaron?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100% positive. He knows where he wants to go and what he wants to do. And there is no more chances, because if he does anything wrong again, then he's going to go somewhere far worse than where he's ever been.
I get you.
So yeah, he's knuckled down and he's doing good in school and everything.
So now what about you? How are you recovering from this?
I don't know, things like this that bring everything back. I think it still might take a long time for us.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you think back, and you know, it brings back memories all the time.
How did you finally get somebody to take you and him seriously? That's what we're...
I don't know if you want this on tape, but it was probably the day when I couldn't take it anymore and the doctor wasn't doing as I thought he should do, so I chased him around the desk and grabbed a hold of him. And told him that I did, it was awful. And I says that if my son comes in here in a body bag, then you're going to be laying next to him in yours, so you better do something about it. But you do, you just get so frustrated, you know, you get so mad, no one listens to you. And that's what I thought was going to happen, you know, and I said to the doctor, the psychiatrist, if this was your son, where would he be? Tell me that, and he wouldn't tell me. He just looked at me and he wouldn't answer me, and that kind of bothered me. So 3 times I asked him the same question, if this was your son, what would you do? Where would he be? Where would your son be right now? I said, he wouldn't be sitting here, would he? You'd get help for him, you'd do something. Why won't you do it for my son? And he just stood and looked at me and wouldn't answer me, so I kind of went around the desk and got a little closer to him. And he still didn't listen. He just disappeared and got the nurse to take me down the hall and give me a coffee to calm me down. I'm like, it's going to take more than a coffee, honey, to calm me down right now.